What's up, guys? This is Joey from the Mediot podcast. This podcast episode is brought to you by joeyandsimpradio.com. Your home for everything we do. It's your home for our music projects, our writing, to living a better life, and all kinds of cool shit. Make sure to check out the site for the latest news involving us, and don't forget to subscribe to the podcast on iTunes or Android if you haven't yet done so. Get your shit together. This week, we feature my personal favorite episode so far. We invited Steve Boaz in, who is the owner and recording engineer at Breathing Rhythm Studio in Norman, Oklahoma. We had a fascinating conversation on his background in music, some of his passions, and his ever-present quest for knowledge. He's a really straightforward, humble dude, and I loved getting to know him a little bit more. So listen up and enjoy our conversation with Steve Boaz. The Mediot Hour podcast with Joey,
Simp,
and Steve.
We have, well, before I get into that, I want to just say it's Monday, August 24th, 2015, for recording purposes. We have in the room -1 Cody, +1 Steve Boaz from Breathing Rhythm Studio. You guys don't know how just insanely capital F fucking excited that I am right now to have this awesome dude in our presence. Not to like stroke your balls or anything.
Oh, you're definitely stroking them.
Fluffing an ego before a podcast is a bad way to start.
Talk about fluffing an ego, man.
The next 45 minutes are just going to be talking about myself.
So, I take long walks on Saturdays, round 2.
No shit.
Enough about me. What do you think about me?
But dude, basically, I've been looking forward to this all week because one, you're not only like a super cool old school friend of ours, but you've got an awesome personality, man. You've got a really cool way of looking at shit, and I've always just really respected that. So speaking of old school, man. Grimlock. When I say the name Grimlock, what's the first thing that pops in your mind?
The first thing is that I've been trying to think of what the name of that band was for about 3 or 4 years now.
Dude, and then Simp just like drops it like
boom,
on the fly.
on
like,
spot, dude.
Just like holding on to that like nugget of just Steve's brain for fucking ever.
Yeah.
But dude, that was actually the first time that I think I met you was back in those days through Donnie and what was that other guy's name?
Aaron.
That's
there
it.
was Mike.
Mike, that's right.
Parrish.
Yeah, dude, those were like the days when sort of I and Simp and like our band was sort of feeling its way out and sort of kind of formulating what we were going to end up sounding like. And you know, we were also very young and just learning about music, and those guys sort of let us jam out with them a lot, sort of took us in, let us I think in fact there was a couple shows where I wouldn't have been able to play if not for Donnie. Like he let me borrow a bunch of his equipment and shit.
Donnie was super nice, super friendly, and just like my first experience of like this guy's like untethered.
Yeah.
Because he was a lot older than me.
Yeah.
And he had all the freedom that I didn't have as a kid or whatever. So, but yeah, that was quite a time,
dude.
Yeah.
But that was the first time I think I remember learning about you, and that was were you playing drums just solely at that time? Because the first like memory that I have of you is just all drums, like you all drums.
Yeah. I mean, I'd met those guys. I was playing in high school with like a metal band, and my dad had met one of the guys at a pawn shop, and he's like, "Hey, my kid plays drums."
Hey, my kid plays drums.
So he took me over there, and I'm like, "Hey, yeah, like Slipknot," and like naming off these bands. They're like, "No, I've never heard of them." Like, what?
Awesome.
Never heard of them? What the fuck are you talking about?
Slipknot.
And so they started naming off all these things that I had no fucking clue who they were talking about. So it ended up being kind of a cool project because I brought what I knew to this thing that may have not been like a standard punk thing, I guess. Yeah. So
I think you were the core of that band, man. I mean, that's what I think. You used to play the shit out of the drums.
Well, dude, that's sort of what like some of the best bands and maybe some of the best experiences though are made of, is when 2 or 3 or more people sort of get together, different influences, different backgrounds. backgrounds. Like that night I came over and jammed with you and Kyle Reed. That was like one of the funnest nights I've had in a long time because one, I had no idea. Dude, I don't think I've ever even played in a band with someone on the keys because all my experience has been loud amps, just fast chords and just scream, you know, and try to make it sound good. And then Kyle Reed's just like fucking hitting these notes. And whenever we played Faith, and then it just started in like, wouldn't that be nice if I could touch your body? Dude, that was like when you guys all came in and then you hooked up the bass. I was like, holy shit, I'm in a fucking jam band right now. This is so fucking cool, man. It was like
I didn't get invited, man. I'm kind of pissed off.
dude, it happened on the fly.
It was kind of off the
fly,
cuff.
right?
Dude, there was.
I kept telling him like, "Where's Simp?" And he was like, "Fuck that guy, man.
Yeah, fuck that.
He's like, fuck that dude, man.
Shut up and jam."
But that was like,
who'd stop talking about some weirdo, man? let's get the jam on.
but dude, that was like really, really cool. And that also might have been the first time I've ever played with two drummers. Chad was on the drums and Josh was on the drums. And I can't
Are you
believe
talking about Josh Speaks?
Josh Speaks.
Nice. I haven't seen him play in a while.
Yeah, man, Josh can still tear it up.
I see him all the time. I haven't seen him play in a while.
Yeah.
He's just got a kit that kind of sets up in the living room. Hey, Josh, play your drums.
Play your drums, damn it. I know he's going to be listening to this and we're all just talking shit.
Yeah.
We should
Damn
spend
it,
the next
Josh.
like 30 minutes just
Play your
like
fucking
talking
drums.
so much shit about Josh. But no, man, that was like, to go back to that night, it was just like, it happened inside of your studio, by the way. But, man, I really wanted to sort of like pick your brain
Yeah.
on this podcast about your studio, your experience, because sort of I'm gonna tickle your ego a little bit more. Me and Josh were talking one night about a year or so back, and we were talking about how you're just like one of those guys that will just take anything and learn about it and take it apart and just find a way to rewire something or fix something. And that's one of the other things that I think is just really cool about you, dude. Like, you may or may not be a fan of dumpster diving, using, the term free cycling to build, you've sort of built your little empire down there just off the back of 2x4s and painted glass and old amps.
Yeah.
What's
off
your
the back
story?
of people that didn't want their shit, really.
Dude, that's so cool, man. Like,
Old
I've
shit's
got
usually
so
the
much
best
respect
shit
for that.
a lot of the time.
Well, I mean, it's sort of a philosophy that I got into by necessity, I think. Our generation seems to be a little bit different from our parents' generation. Things are a little hard to come across. It takes a little bit more time, it seems, to get where we're going in life. But, from day one, it was like, if you want a car, you got to make one run. If you want to have a nice place, you got to put that nice place together. You got to. So everything came from knowing what I want and then having to run into certain things that could get me there.
Yeah.
So my first studio, like I was just talking about when I came in here, a lot of the 2x4s, a lot of the drywall, a lot of the glass between the control room and everything.
Yeah.
All that shit was stuff that
You Frankenstein.
yeah.
That's awesome.
And looking back, it's like, wow, that was a total fucking dump.
Yeah.
Dude, I've been in there before.
And over time, it's like
You build an
the next
empire,
three
man.
things I did was these small steps of like having an extra $200 a month or something,
Yeah.
and making that stretch as far as I could get it.
Yeah.
When I moved into the current place I'm in with the studio, I remember putting up drywall and having like budgeting the screws. Like
No
I buy a
shit.
box of screws from a hardware store. This is when Ace Hardware went out. Bought a bunch of stuff from there, paint, screws, things like that.
Clearance sales and shit.
Yeah, and so like there's still panels of drywall up there like held in with 2 screws.
Wow.
Because that's what I had, and the studio has a great dumpster behind it. I go through Goodwill, like I got this like 3-minute pass. Walk in there,
Yeah.
peek around, walk back out. If you want something, like it'll cost you $3 or whatever.
Yeah.
And I've gotten anyway to go off of that. It's all come out of not having money, but
Yeah.
having a dream and being super focused on that.
That's
asking a lot
badass.
of my family to kind of sacrifice with me.
Yeah.
But looking back over time, like it's gone. Everything goes up, but it just goes up real slow. And I'm
Yeah.
okay with that.
Well, the thing is things aren't meant to rise fast. If they rise slow, usually there's more consistency involved. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, if somebody would have handed me the value of whatever I am now,
Yeah.
as far as the studio and everything goes, I would have done something completely soulless.
That's true.
I would have bought a bunch of like panels and diffusers and stuff instead of making them.
Yeah.
I would have bought some some new shit from Guitar Center instead of coming across like old amps and shit from the 60s that
that already have a soul sort of built into them.
Yeah, like
because other people have used them and jammed out with them.
Yeah, jammed out with them and then like kind of shove them off to the side in a pawn shop. Or I found one of my amps in a alley. The best amp I own actually came from
That's
an
so
alley.
Cool, dude.
Yeah,
that is
You
so
know,
cool.
like if you ever play on an old guitar, you just feel like you're playing on history. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
There's something about it, man. There's
Like
something about it.
like for instance, even when we went to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, you know, when I saw Kurt Cobain's guitar sitting there, I said, "Don't touch." Well, I touched that motherfucker, man.
Dude, both
I've
of
seen
us
this
did.
in so many videos and so
Yeah.
much shit, and
Yep.
I was like, dude, that's history. And I can say I plucked my fingers on his strings, man. I wanted
were
just
like-
to pick it up and play the motherfucker.
Yeah,
Really, I
yeah.
really did.
We were watching out for the security guard together, remember, dude? We were like taking shifts, like watching, making sure that guy wasn't like walking back and forth, remember?
I just couldn't believe you could just reach your
Yeah.
hand out there and
like
touch
5 feet
Yeah.
away, dude.
a
just
guitar, you know, something.
5 feet.
Because
Then you start overthinking. It's like, wait a second, is this a remake? Come on.
Yeah, yeah.
well,
Surely.
we were at what was it called? The Hard Rock Cafe in Chicago one time.
Yeah.
Because we were gonna play a show down there and it didn't go down, but we still went up there anyway because we planned to go to Chicago. Well, it was
Yeah.
cold as shit and we got drunk on some alcohol. It was a rough night, but I remember us going to the Hard Rock Cafe, and when we went there, they had a bass just sitting right there where we were about to get seated, you know, where they were waiting on us. And I didn't think about it, but I just went over there and started playing on it and messing around on it. And remember, I was sitting on the floor playing that thing, and then a lady walks by and goes, "You know, you're playing on the bass player of Faith No More's bass." And I was like, "Really?" I was like, "That's wild."
You're like, in that case.
Yeah, I know it.
But and I was like, "Am I okay?" She goes,
tearing
"No,
that
go ahead,"
shit up,
because
too.
I was on the over there tearing that little fucker up, man. And then that lady was, I was like, "I'm sorry, I didn't mean to play that. I thought it was just here for the play, and I thought it was like cool or something." She goes, "No, it's cool. Go ahead and play it."
Restaurant.
And I was just
letting you
like,
play bass.
"Damn!" They just let me play it, so I was like, "That's
We're
cool."
like, thanks. This is my first time
But it was
playing.
it was just sitting right there,
I like
kind
to
of close
play.
by the doorway, like you know, some fucking bum could just walk in, grab it up, and be like, "Oh
Crazy.
fuck yeah, here, get me some alcohol now."
Some bum, just like a Faith No More bass, dude. Just the idea of some bum trying to like sell tickets, like to, I've got Faith No More's bass, man. I'm gonna tear this shit up. That's so cool, dude. Dude, those are some kick ass memories, dude. Was that the night that we got in that fist fight?
Yeah, in the
Okay.
front seat of your car. Yeah,
That's right. That's right. Yeah, that's a whole other story.
We
dude.
had to spend $75 getting a jump, right?
Dude.
And this car was a manual. It's because when I got back in the car to get our cameras, I turned on the light to find it, and I forgot to turn the light off, and it ran the battery down. So we wound up having a dead battery, and everybody was trying to chip in, and we were pretty much already scrounging already.
And we didn't think. This is why we needed a guy like Steve on our side
Yeah.
back then, because Steve would have just stepped to the side and been like, "You dumb motherfuckers! This car is a standard. Push this fucking red son
Yeah,
of
it
a bitch
was-
and
it
start
was-
this
it was
bitch up and let's go." Whereas we
So-
paid a guy $75 to give us a jump.
Dude came out. It had to been like the most easiest job for this guy ever. He just
10
drove
fucking
up,
sec- 10
and he just kind of
seconds.
casually like, "Man, I do this shit all the time. Whatever, man." He goes, "Hey, open up your hood." And we open up the hood, and he just throws a couple cables on there. And he was like, "All right, fire it up." And then we're like, "All right, boom, hit it," and it instantly started.
Yeah.
I was like, "This is bullshit." I had to pay $75 for that. There were so many people that walked by that we were like, "Hey, can we get a jump?" And they were like, "I don't have a car," you know. And then the people that were in the parking lot, we were trying to, "Hey, can you give us a jump?" And you know, Joey's standing over there. He's in a big leather jacket, you know, and we got John Strother with us, and he's all looking rough.
That's
and-
when like fuck
Yeah.
society. I don't
Dude,
give a
yeah,
shit.
he's all looking
wait,
rough.
Wait, could I get a jump though?
Yeah,
not to mention that we were drinking liquor that like John had like previously that night stolen out of a liquor store because we thought he went in there and bought it, and we were all pounding shots with him. He was like, I was like, "John, you had money? I didn't even know you had money." He's like, "No, man, I stole this." I was like, "What the fuck?" And we already had half the bottle down by that time.
Not that I
and we were
believe
out on
in
Navy.
karma,
We
but-
were on Navy Pier. And we were freezing our asses off, and by the time we got back to that car, we already got in kind of an argument before that over blocks and stuff because it's like, "No, it's down this way," and I was right, he was right. They both led to the same place. It's like he was on this street of it, and I was on that street or whatever, and we both walked down.
Traveling is stressful,
Dude,
man. It's
yeah.
so stressful. Every time I go, on tour or traveling with our old buddy Brandon, it was always nice to designate one guy. Like, all right, dude, you're going to make all the decisions. We're going to sit back here and just like
Chill.
snack on things, drink some stuff, not have a care in the fucking world. And you're going to stress out. We're not going to argue with you.
That's the way to do it.
Oh, I love it. I love it. And this is how I do it now. Cause even if somebody's making a bad decision, like,
It's not your call.
we'll just see how this rolls out.
I like that.
Whatever you
idea.
I got nowhere to be.
Yeah.
Dude, check this out. I've got Strother, the guy he mentioned earlier. We had already sort of planned this trip to go to Chicago. John Strother wasn't going to go until that morning. Whenever we asked him, he was like, yeah, let me throw my shoes on, like we were going to Walmart or something. It was like he went to Chicago with us.
No change of
was
clothes,
just like-
nothing. Like
That's
fuck it.
life, man.
Yeah.
That's
Just
life.
let me throw my shoes on and we'll just make this shit happen.
He's
Yeah.
like scratching his head for a second, like, oh, Chicago.
I remember he brought up one question, and
I
it
think
was
I got
like,
one shoe under the couch. Hold on.
he's like, "Are you guys gonna be able to feed me?" And we were like, "Yeah." And he's like, "All right, I'll go." That's kind of was like the
Yeah.
stimulation behind it all. But
All right.
speaking about now I was gonna say it, now I forgot. But decisions, like you're right, because sometimes like you can make a decision and everybody's like, "Man, fuck, man, now we gotta drive 45 minutes back the other direction," blah
Yeah,
blah blah.
yeah.
When you're out there on the road. But we were in Cleveland one time. Remember when we were coming from Cleveland to Youngstown, and everybody was like, "Let's get on the toll plaza," blah blah blah. And I saw this little highway. It looked like kind of like a highway, like that highway that goes to Woodward, kind of a little 2-lane, highway. And they were like, "Man, where does he got us going?" And I told them, "Just stay on there." And we'd been up all night. Sorry, I was. Anyways,
Squeaky boy.
I had
a
like
little
indigestion or something, but edit. But anyway, so I was sitting there and I was nodding out because we'd been up all night. Like we drove all the way in from Pennsylvania. Like we were in Philly the night, around Philly in the suburbs of Philly, and we came from there and drove all the way through Pennsylvania. Went to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame that morning, and when we were leaving there, I was about to pass out. Thank God I wasn't driving; I would have never made it. But as we were going through there, I was like, "Man, just take this road." And they were like, "Man," and I remember everybody started kind of getting where they're like, "Man, I don't know. Simp seems like he's out of it, dude. I don't think I'm listening to him anymore." Kind of trying to replan our route and shit,
yeah.
And then next thing you know, there was a sign that said Youngstown, Ohio, so many miles, and I was like, "Thank God, now I can go to sleep." So I went to sleep, and everybody was like thanking me because we didn't have to pay it was like another $8 or $9 just to go that way.
Yeah, because when you're
yeah.
traveling, $8 or $9 is a fucking days of eating.
And we got there like an hour earlier too. I swear, like it was like an hour earlier. Like it was the shortest path.
That was awesome.
It was
That's
pretty badass.
One thing I will say for Sim, dude, he's usually the designate navigation
like
person.
Tom
He's got, like,
yeah,
a
yeah.
fucking
Tom
compass in his head. But dude, okay, so I was at your studio a while back, and I walked to the back, and I was sort of standing in front of your mixer, just trying to take it all in, just trying to like sort of imagine myself doing that.
Take it in your like pockets and shit.
No.
Just kidding.
Well, that it made
I'm gonna take it all in.
so hard. If you weren't
The
watching it
pawn
so hard. But what is if you have a least favorite, what is your favorite and least favorite part about a band coming in for the first time and saying, I want to record? What is something that gets you excited about doing it and something that you just dislike?
I have either a weakness or a strength of being like completely empathetic to whoever I'm around or whatever situation I'm in. So that kind of makes the whole studio not surround around any kind of genre or any kind of level of musicianship or anything like that.
Yeah.
It all comes down to like the product that you get comes down to what the band puts in. So when the band comes in and it's the type of band that
They want you to polish everything up.
well, let me put it this way. Like I put musicians in two kind of categories. There's a category of like a hobby, and there's a category of like everything depends on this. And when everything depends on it, I treat it that way. When it's a hobby, I also treat it that way.
Oh, okay.
So my favorite is when somebody comes in and they're passionate about whatever it is. Doesn't matter how good I think they are or whatever. So if somebody's level of involvement is high, that's exciting for me.
Yeah.
If their level of involvement is
They're just kind of going through the motions kind of person. Like, and it's like, you kind of like that guy you work with that he's always like, oh, I don't care, I'm just here to get a paycheck, you know.
There's a little bit of that in kind of the band members, but there's also there's some guys that come in and it's kind of our high school mentality. Like, I know we've all worked with somebody, or like you're playing video games with somebody in middle school and they're like, well, it's my game. Like people that kind of treat it as they're doing this thing to kind of just fulfill their own ego or something project. Like. Well, no, it just it's kind of hard what I'm trying to say. But if they're not as involved, that's my least favorite, because then I'm just sitting there pushing buttons.
So you would rather do it almost. Your favorite part is when someone is passionate about it. Least favorite is when someone's just kind of not caring as much.
My favorite is when somebody's going, I'm sorry, man, can we work till 3 a.m.? I'm like, fuck yeah.
You're like,
if somebody's like, hey, man, I got to go and eat dinner. It's 8, man. I got to get out of here. I'm like, all right, you know.
And on top of that, they're like, why isn't this track not sounding right? Or, you know, that's usually that same person. The same person that's like that is usually...
Sometimes. In the early days, there's a lot of things that I've kind of weeded out by not giving an option.
Oh, okay.
I don't give an option to tune your vocals because that's...
Your vocals are what your vocals are. That's just how it is. I agree with that auto-tune shit. That's bullshit.
I can get behind it for creative purposes. I'll always send somebody to somebody else if they want that kind of thing. But it's another reason why I do the whole tape console analog thing. Like, I want to vibe in there, and when somebody comes in and they know that, okay, this is the direction that we're headed, they're not going to depend on me to make them sound a certain way. They just are going to sound a certain way.
Gotcha.
So then my job becomes getting them to put aside those certain things that make us want to be perfect.
Yeah.
Which I feel can more be a hindrance to a real fucking human thing.
Yeah.
That's what the recording process is, right? It's just perfecting on all those imperfections and just slightly getting it right over time.
Yeah. And it's, that's not my job, and I don't tell them that I'm gonna do that. So it puts the pressure on them to do their best at the time, and it puts the pressure on me to make them feel their best in this moment.
Yeah.
To have a great experience in the studio at that time.
Like, you don't want to go in there and make them sound like what they don't sound like. You want to make them sound like what they are, and then really truly capture that, as opposed to actually just trying to make a CD that everybody's going to be like, oh, check out all the tones on this. It sounds so great, blah, blah, blah.
Right,
you know what I mean?
Right.
Like, you're more like, I want to show you exactly what this band sounds like. This band this is how they sound, you know?
And it's something for me, like, man, I've heard everything that's been doctored.
Yeah.
I've heard everything that's been layered within an inch of its life.
Yeah.
Pop music is cool. I have nothing against any of that stuff, but I know that there's records that, I know you guys have the same thing, but there's records that had a major impact on me back when records could have a real impact on me. You know, that point of your life when it's mattered. Like, when a record just knocked you on the floor, you know?
Yeah.
Things like hearing the pedal squeak on John Bonham's kick pedal.
That's
like,
so cool, man.
Why didn't somebody edit that out?
Yeah.
Well, they couldn't. But when I was hearing it, the epiphany that I had of like, holy shit, this is like, it puts me in the room with the drummer, or it puts me in the room with somebody singing in my face. And live performances are always the thing that I feel impacts us the heaviest within that short amount of time.
Yeah.
A record can have an impact on your life after listening to it a bunch, but it's not natural. You know, we come from...
That's true. That's a good point.
We come from this tribal thing of like...
perfection. We got everybody to be perfect. And
well, like, from...
That is such a good point, dude. We
beating drums and vocal singing and... the deep south and churches and shit like that. Like, that's the goosebump. Well, I was just thinking about it, I got goosebumps.
That's why, like, every major religion is sort of crafted around music. It's because, I mean, at your deepest personal soul sort of level,
exactly,
there is something just amazing about getting.
That's what I'm trying to reach.
And it's a and if you even think about it, even though I know, like, to a lot of those single people out there, like, I remember being back when I was single, and like one of the first questions questions I always asked a girl that I dated, you know, was like, what kind of music you listen to, you know? Because I know it sounds crazy, but if they're way off listening to some other music, their whole thought process is probably different too. In a lot of cases. No, I know there's people that can kick it every day with us, and they blare country and drive around and shit. I get that, you know, and they're not like, you know, any different than any of us. You know what I mean? They might wear crazy clothes just like we do or whatever, but what I'm getting at is like, you see people like that and you're just like, damn, man, like it's crazy how music can affect your life so much, you know? And it's the same way with like hip hop or something like that. I mean, a lot of people who, you know, listen to straight hip hop, all the gangster shit, you know, all the crazy stuff, they're running around in fucking flat bill hats, and I know I got a flat bill on right now, but it's different.
Well, think about when that made a major cultural impact and and changed the world that we live in. Is back when
gangs started sprouting up everywhere too.
For a lot of people, it was when the Akai, you know, MC 2000 or whatever that machine is, with the 16 pads on it.
Oh,
right.
I know what you're talking about. I can see it in my head.
Yeah, you know. The sampling, the records, all those things. Something that had a heavy impact on me and my philosophy was one of my influences is Questlove.
Questlove's
he was talking about his influences, and he talked about Jay Dilla. Jay Dilla, he's a producer, quote unquote, did a lot of sampling, did it on those 16 pads. When he's recording these samples and when he's playing back these samples, he's playing beats with his fingers. What he did was remove the quantize function, which for everybody who doesn't know what that is, the quantize lines it up on a grid to where when you hit the snare, if it's a little bit off, it'll fix it and adjust it to where it'll be perfect automatically.
So it takes away the perfection.
Right. So Jay Dilla took that function off.
Cool.
And his beats were like, that snare, like every single time, you got to wait a little bit longer for it.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
And, you know, when Questlove's talking about that and, you know, how that affected him, I'm like, man, it's the same thing it's the same version of imperfections and passion and being dedicated to something. And
well, you know, and I've been in, like, I played music with people, you know, before that, like, they want to strive so hard just to make that song so perfect and play it over and over and over to a point that it's like not even, it's already lost its fun. You know, you're kind of getting where you're like, man, I'm really hating playing the song almost at the moment. You know, maybe you don't hate the song, you just hate having to play it so many times, you know?
Sure.
And I mean, I know that's practice and yada, yada, yada. But a lot of time, if you've got like the bulk of it, maybe it's just closing the song off. Like maybe it's just hitting that last note together and you're just kind of a little off. To me, man, after you played it 2-3 times, maybe you need to go to another song, kind of, you know, come back to it. Cause maybe once you get good and hot, you might actually just pull that shit off, you know, not even thinking about it. But if you sit there and you just try to perfect it too much, it seems like it loses its like luster. You know what I mean? Like it's not a lot of the best stuff I've ever written was like in a time when I was just feeling it. Like we were in a room maybe jamming and I was like, oh, I got this little lick, you know, and did this. And they're like, okay, I'll do this to it. And bam, you know, it's a song.
In fact, that reminds me, not to interrupt you, but that time we were recording with Brandon at Polka Goat Studios, his mom's attic bedroom thing. Yeah. Whenever he was recording one of our songs, I remember there was a part where I was singing and I kept fucking it up and I just couldn't hit it, man. I wasn't feeling it that day. And I remember you had actually talked me into just keep it, dude. It almost sounds like you were playing it live anyway, because it's not exactly right. Yeah. And I remember now that I hear that, every time I hear that little part, I always think of that, because I'm like, man, I'm so glad I didn't spend another hour trying to perfect that, you know, because in the moment,
you might have went back in there and try to record it and it's even worse than before.
Yeah. That's every single day in the studio. We do a lot of things where we record the whole band at once, and with every take, there's always somebody that's like, oh man, you know, I didn't hit that quite right. Yeah. The rest of the 4 people or whatever in the band are going, like, no, dude, awesome. That was awesome. That was great. Or you know, the performance around it, you just hit it. There was one time when I did some drum tracks for a project on my own, and I edited my part to line up better with the singer or the guitar player or whatever. And after editing it all, I sent it to him. It's like, all right, here, you know, listen to this. And he said, oh, what'd you do, man? It's like, what are you talking about? It's like, you fixed all the beats. Like, can you undo that?
Wow.
So he made me undo all of the edits that I made, and like, that's the last time that.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, dude, that sort of goes into my next question about about musicians, because we're all musicians. We all sort of have our things that we're all passionate about. We all can be stubborn and childish and all kinds of crazy things at many different times. When that situation arises guys is, what do you do as a sort of as a studio owner and recorder? What do you actually call yourself? Like a producer? Do you like, whenever you're talking to people, do you just say, I own such and such studio, I'm a this, fill in the blank?
I guess I call myself a recording engineer.
I like that. I like that.
The producer thing, I feel like that like that's going to come in the eyes of whoever's seeking out the studio or me, and whatever it is I do. There are people that come in and they're like, all right, I got this. They've heard other things that I've done, and they set everything up kind of for me.
Oh, okay.
And they'll let me know, whether it's direct or indirect, how much they want my ear involved in what they're doing.
Gotcha. Which would be like producing.
Which would be the whole producing part. My style of producing is a whole lot of talking back and forth and getting the room, first of all, hiring the right musicians on it.
Yeah.
That's a record. Yeah. That's the entire, like, as far as the history of how we've been making records.
Yeah.
When you have a single artist, they have some songs.
Yeah.
And it's starting to come out now in all these documentaries of like, yeah, this band was on fucking 108 of these songs that you never even heard of who they were.
Yeah, that's
they were just the house band.
Yeah, it's like Hinder. I think when they did their album, like, which I don't like Hinder. I'm not trying to be like, oh, Hinder fan, but it was in the Gazette.
We just lost some listeners.
It was a big deal. Yeah, we just lost like everyone. Everyone's like, he dropped a Hinder on us.
I don't listen to Hinder.
Don't hinder us.
Is that Hinder podcast?
But now Hinder's gonna sue us. Like, oh, you used my fucking name.
He's all right.
And then you bashed it all to hell, just dogging Hinder.
No, it wasn't Hinder. It was Hander. We're talking about Hander. Everybody remember Hander?
Well, Hander, okay. They supposedly the drummer never played on the album that they recorded. They had another drummer, actually, the studio drummer, go in and play the drums. That's why I guess live he can't actually play like that. You know, his recordings illustrate.
The Beatles used to fight about that a lot. Like, Ringo would leave, and then Paul would come in and like do drumming for him, like, and try to make it sound like his drumming. And then like Ringo would come in and be like, "You fucking played my drums, didn't you?" Paul's like, "Dude, I didn't touch your fucking drums."
Wow.
Like I remember reading that somewhere.
That's weird that you did Lennon's voice in place of Ringo.
Yeah,
That's so weird.
No shit.
Yeah, I know.
So back to what I was saying, man. How do you make bands feel comfortable? Have you ever had to diffuse a band fight? Have you ever had to just be like, all right, I just need to let these motherfuckers go out and handle this? These guys are fixing to like throw down.
I mean, there's been some uncomfortable moments. I don't worry too much about them because when bands have that, a lot of times my perception of the record will sort of be like, well, it's par for the course. I don't really give a shit. They're going to work out something, and
that makes sense.
It'll come back.
It's like, I'm getting paid by the hour anyway. Go ahead and argue away, guys. I'm not stopping the clock.
That's so true.
I'm not saying you do that. I was just saying I would. I'd be like, hey, I'm getting your argument recorded as well, just so I have this for later.
Yeah,
purposes.
that kind of touches upon the last thing I was saying about hiring musicians. I have a strong running theory that you can tell how good a musician is just by talking to him. Like, not ever hearing them, not ever hearing anything about them, having a conversation with somebody. Mm-hmm. A lot of times you can kind of dial in.
I like that. What
type of musician they are. You start thinking about it, it starts to kind of make sense too.
It does, dude. It totally makes sense.
And so a lot of the people that I hired in the studio, first of all, they got to where they are by being decent fucking people.
Yeah.
So when we do hire some people in, that's the vibe, man. That's the vibe, is the people. It always is.
Yeah.
I mean, we have like dim lights, and we have, cool colors and lamps, and
it feels really comfortable in there, dude. Like, as an outsider coming in for the first time and just feeling it out. I'm not in there a lot, but when I come in there, especially since I sort of had a sneak peek at it before it was what it is.
Yeah.
Back when, like, you had to like walk through pathways and shit. But dude, you have it set up in there to where it feels comfortable. It feels.
I need to come by and see it sometime.
Dude, it feels like if you were to go down south almost and like put like an enclosure on a really awesome band's like porch setup. Mm-hmm. It feels just like a comfortable place where you can sit and just fucking jam with people. And that's why that night that I was hanging out with you guys, I felt it went so good, man, because I'd never even met Kyle before, and Kyle's like showing me how to do chords on the keys, and it felt really cool, man. And I love that aspect of it.
Yeah. And that's his personality. That's why he gets hired all the time. That's why he can make a living playing guitar.
Yeah, he's a badass too, man.
He's also a badass.
Dude, After that night that I met
Are you
him,
talking
I
about
went-
Kyle? The Kyle we know, Kyle?
Kyle Reed is what his name's.
I know. I think I know Kyle. I just
Yeah, he's
drawing blanks for some reason, and it's horrible.
such a good musician, dude. And that record you guys did, by the way, is bad fucking ass, dude.
Thanks.
That is badass, dude. I really, really, really loved it, man. There's a few videos on YouTube of him playing some of the songs. God, it sounds really good, man. But
Thank you.
I got another question for you, man.
Yeah.
It's sort of kind of like backtracks. Describe how your studio is and what you do to someone who's never been there. If you met me at a party and I'm like, hey man, I heard you had a studio, I'm thinking about coming to record. What is like a sentence or two that describes what your studio is?
Oh, a sentence or two? Damn.
Well, you can make it a paragraph.
Hey, one sentence, badass. That's it. That's all you need, son.
Motherfucker. That's all you need.
It's badass, motherfucker. Badass like sea bass. There's your two sentences.
It's badass. Any more questions, or can I go now?
Can we go now? Oh, where's some drumsticks so we can drop them motherfuckers?
Drop the mic. He just like spins the mic around, hits me in the fucking head.
I think. I mean, I guess I don't really do that. I definitely don't say like, "Hey, I'm Steve. I own a studio. Come record," because that's not going to do anything beneficial for me. I don't feel. But I'm fortunate to have people that do that talking for me, and that's why I don't really do any advertising or things like that, because it's just a word of mouth. Yeah,
word of mouth, exactly.
And that also sort of guides a certain type of music or band or person into that at the same time. But if I was to meet somebody new that was interested, I do tours, man. Just call me up, text message, email.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I just invite them over. Like, hey, let's hang out for 30 minutes, an hour.
I'll show you all the
Show you the studio. Yeah,
That's cool.
Yeah.
And I like your site. It's really, really.
I need to go by
minimalistic.
there sometime, though. I need an invite.
you have an invite. Here's your invite. Just come hang out.
God damn it! But yeah, man.
Where are you located at? Sorry to make you cut you.
Downtown Norman.
Downtown. See, you're not even far away.
Yeah.
It's pretty easy, man. Even me, I'm bad with directions. It's just you take what's that street? Is it Flood? No, it's because it's the one that's Sunny.
It's
So it's
downtown
Porter.
Norman, Main Street. It's one street south of Main Street.
Got you.
Just Google Breathing
Like near
Rhythm
Crawford?
Studios, goddammit.
Is
Yeah.
it anywhere
Between
near there?
Crawford and Porter.
In Porter. Okay,
Comanche's
so you're
the
right
street,
there.
right?
You're right there by the Obelisk then.
Yeah, other
Okay.
side of Main.
Okay.
Dude, go to Blue Restaurant and look across the street. And
So you're on over there by that convenience store. Is there a convenience store right there by you?
Sort of.
Got you. Okay, I'm trying to think. I was trying to envision it because we used to play the Studio 360 right there off of Crawford.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, it's just the other side of Main Street. That's all that is.
Got you. Oh,
If you
the
were to
other
fold Main
side.
Street in half,
So you're right
yeah.
over there by that. There's a printing place right there. Something screen printing. Yeah. Okay, I got you now.
I'm telling you, Sim's got a fucking I'm just gonna start calling you Rand McNally, dude. He's got a fucking 2D cross section image of this entire.
I can almost tell you all the restaurants that are on most of major corners in the city.
Yeah,
I should be a fucking taxi
Dude, you should
driver,
be
a
an
limo
Uber
driver.
Fuck taxi.
Be a
Go
limo driver and
Uber,
be like,
man.
hey, I got a fucking
Shoot,
spider
hi.
tattoo, but I'm gonna take these motherfuckers to some cool places.
Yeah.
All right, this is Draper. Get out, motherfuckers. Give me your wallet.
Give me your wallet, motherfucker.
I'm gonna make some grip here.
Y'all ever been to Kitchen Lake?
Yeah.
Where's Kitchen Lake?
You guys know what cement shoes are? Oh, this is a new place. It's like a mobster type place.
My dad's been doing heat and air for, I don't know, 25 years or so, and 20 years? I don't know.
Long time.
But he knows this city inside and out, to the house number, to you tell him he doesn't need a map anymore. Let me put it that way.
Yeah.
Does not need a map. You tell him where it is and the address. He'll know by the numbers, by how everything's laid out in a grid.
Dude, that's
Like
cool.
what side of
that's
the
how-
streets things
That's
are
how
on.
I am with numbers and stuff too.
Yeah,
The
yeah.
same
That's
way.
Cool,
It's
man.
handy.
That's badass.
Well, it's like one of those things Reno's kind of like the dividing street, from north to south.
Yeah.
And I would say Santa Fe is probably Walker, Santa Fe it kind of splits up, but usually generally between Santa Fe and Western, somewhere right in that region is where it splits in half, the
Yeah.
east and the west.
Yeah.
And in some
For
parts
Norman,
of the city,
it's a train track. So
yeah.
So, did you ever work with your dad? Is that where you sort of got your
Yeah,
love
I
for
worked-
taking things apart and fixing shit?
There's something that, I don't know if it's genetic or just the environment, I guess, but growing up, my dad was handy with things, built a lot of things, had a good mind for technical stuff.
Yeah.
So I kind of grew up around it, and I think a lot of what happened was I knew it was possible, and that's something that I carry with me everywhere, is that whatever that goal of trying to fix the thing is, there's always a way to do it. Always a way to do it. No matter how desperate the situation, there's always a way to do it.
That's where the engineer aspect
And that's,
comes in.
yeah,
you know?
yeah. It's just a matter of getting there.
That's awesome, man. I respect that a lot. Someone that, someone like your dad that's like, it's like a hands-on kind of person.
Yeah.
Like that kind of goes back to what we were saying about how this country just doesn't do that kind of stuff anymore, man. And like, that's sort of also why I like that you use like analog tape at your studio, man, because no matter what you do, there's a certain sound you just cannot get unless you are using a certain type of format. Like when you hear a vinyl record to this day, it has a sound, it has a smell. When you crack that thing open, the first thing I always do or always did, I smelled it, dude. Something about the way that like a vinyl smelled whenever I was younger, you know.
Joey's not allowed any record stores anymore.
I know there's a band.
Stop sniffing the records.
There's a band that like. Have you heard of a band called Ballsy? I think is what they're called.
Cerebral palsy?
Ballsy.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm saying it wrong.
Ballsy.
Yeah. Have you heard of them?
Yeah. And they blew my mind. And
did you record
Facebook
them?
Friends with? No, I wish I did.
Dude, like you should try to get to record them if you can. I might even
I'm
have to
Facebook
work
friends
out
with
some
the
shit
drummer. He's a cool guy.
Dude, they're fucking
What's
awesome,
the band?
dude.
Is it B-O-S?
It's Ballsy. That's what it is.
BOW
LSEY.
Yeah,
Oh,
LSEY.
Okay, Ballsy, gotcha.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever heard him.
Yeah, I've heard him once, and I was like, "What the fuck? Why hasn't anybody been telling me about this?"
Well, we played with them when we were the Strugglers, you know, when I played with the Strugglers. Man, I was blown away. I was having drinks that night. I was having a good time. And they had this black female singer, and she'd only been singing for about a year. And man, she killed it, man. She had this voice. It's just like, it just sounds like you can just feel history in her voice. You know what I'm saying? Like she sung with soul, like
That's awesome.
not the soul that you see today. Not like I'm going to sing gospel soul. This was more of like almost like get out your washboard kind of soul. You know what I mean? Like it was
Southern soul.
Yeah, and she was amazing. And then now she had like I think her boyfriend that played in the band too. He was this other I don't mean to say it like racism or sound racist, but he was black too. Sorry, I don't want to say it like I'm identifying people by black, but he did more kind of like a little bit of that mixed with a little bit of like rapping kind of hip hop thing. And it was, if I remember right, like, that's cool. It was really cool, man. And then they had this other guy who played this old school like organ type looking thing, the one with the little 2 rows, and it was the
type of organs that people are like trying to give away on
they were
Craigslist.
kick ass. I loved
really
it,
cool.
man. Like they and not only that, but we went upstairs. We were at the Voodoo Lounge. We went up to that little. Have you ever been there to the Voodoo Lounge? There's these little stairs that kind of go up, and there's this little spot where it's kind of like a place people can smoke and shit like that. And we went up there and burned doobies, you know, and all that good stuff. Man, they were just really cool people, man.
Yeah.
I wanted to do some shit, like some projects with them too. We might have to have like a band jam night. If they ever come over, I'm coming that night, and I'm going to try to get involved.
Speaking of good voices,
I love that.
You know who has a voice that just fucking makes me melt, dude? Every time I hear his voice, I get goosebumps. John Fulbright.
Yeah.
Fucking Norman's own, dude. That guy, I remember watching him at the deli before sort of he started taking off. I have this vivid memory. I was with Brittany. We were at the deli. He was opening for the Damn Quails, which that's another little Oklahoma shout out. They're fucking tearing shit up right now. But John Fulbright, dude, I remember I was having a beer, and rarely does like someone just stop me dead in my tracks. When he got on stage, he's fucking lanky as shit. You know, he's got a guitar.
He's young too. He's really young.
You don't think that he would sing like that, dude, and all of a sudden he just starts in, and I was just like, God damn, this guy's fucking awesome, dude. He's got.
Now, does he do his own music? His own songs?
He does covers. He does his own shit, dude. He was one of his records was like nominated.
He's
like,
Grammy nominated.
He's Grammy nominated now.
Wow,
dude. I remember
that's
telling Brittany, this guy can fucking sing, dude. Like a year later, he was fucking Grammy nominated, dude. But he's got such a good voice, dude.
Yeah, he's somebody that for me just really nails the live stage performance. He can do it with a band. He can do it on his own, and he
just has
you
that
know everything's
knack.
coming from so far deep inside, and it's not an act, it's a performance.
Exactly. I love the way that you put that, because whenever you see them, you ever just watch someone and they look like they're not putting on a show? It almost just looks like they're just opening their chest and you're just kind of seeing what's coming out.
Yeah.
And their face sort of hides that, you know, like they're singing, but dude, he's got his eyes shut. And you really feel that every ounce of something that is inside of him is just being pushed out to you.
Yeah.
And he's one of those people, man. And I really feel lucky that I got a chance to watch him. And I sort of feel like, you know, oh, I knew Fulbright before he was Grammy nominated, you know? He was just...
Last time I was around him, his band, the rest of his band is good friends of mine. And there was a birthday party and he was there. And like, I don't want to meet famous people at all, but then there are like local people that are super fucking talented. And I'm like, oh God, be cool, man. Be cool. Don't say anything stupid. And I totally got drunk that night. Who knows what the hell I said. I got tackled by his bass player.
I thought you were going to say by Fulbright.
Yeah, he's like, dude.
I thought that was the next thing out of your mouth.
It's like, dude, you totally tried to suck his dick, man. I mean, we had to tackle you.
We had to tackle him.
Yeah.
A good friend will tackle you before
That'd be fucked up. You'd be so drunk. Be like, man, I love your music so much. I just want to suck your dick, man. Just get on your knees and start crawling over toward him. Like, he's like, fuck, man. Get this guy.
Well, dude, I
thought he was wanting an autograph, and this guy's creeping me out.
But he's one of those guys that pushes the rest of us, you know? It's watching him do great things, watching Parker Millsap do great things. Watching...
Look, at this point, you could name anyone in Norman right now, dude. There's such an environment that is just flowering right now, and your studio seems to be like right in like the heart of it. It's like a
It's not the heart of it, but it's you know, I'm very happily kind of on the fringe of it. I'm super lucky to know these people and to have met them and to have been placed in that environment where I'm the worst musician in there. And I love that.
That's
I
cool,
fucking
man.
love that.
Yeah.
I started playing drums when I was 3 years old, and that did nothing for me until like, hey, this 6-7-year-old kid is really good at drums. That doesn't push me to get better.
Yeah.
It didn't push me when I was 12. It didn't push me when I was 14. I met Brady Fieldcamp. You remember him?
Yeah.
I was like, holy shit, this guy's only been playing for a couple of years and he's as good as me.
Yeah.
I got to practice. And that was the start of
Wow.
that. And then moving to Norman was like, hey, we need a jazz drummer. I'm really bad at jazz, but I would love the chance.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
cool.
And
But you got good at jazz, so now it's like, you know what I'm saying?
like, and I'm still struggling and trying my best at it. But you know, back to Kyle Reed, I have a video of I took a video as like a recording so I can refer back to it. And he was like, okay, here's how jazz works. Here's the basic philosophy behind jazz and why a jazz jam is different from a rock jam or whatever it is. And that was the beginning of it. And like now I'm a better person for being around people who
That's cool.
are so much better than me. So
And that kind of goes back to what you were saying about there's sort of like this environment that your studio sort of brings like a decent people around you. It seems like you said, you can really tell what kind of musicians people are just by having a conversation with them, not even
absolutely.
them picking up a guitar.
You know, I even feel guilty in my later age of being kind of more of a lazy musician compared to where I used to be. Because when I was 15, 16 years old, I had such a passion. Like, man, I just wanted to go out. But I mean, after you've gone through so many bands and you got high spirits and optimistic and thinking things are just going to, man, here we go again, you know?
Yeah.
And then you just kind of fall on your face, you know? After so much of that, you get where you kind of like, you know, you start to feel that sting, you know? But I mean, good thing is any project I've played in or done, like I've always stayed in touch with the people we played with before. They were always my friends or people I play with. I find that the best music is usually written whenever you play with your friends, because with a friend, you can be a little more honest, you know? You know, you can even almost get in a quarrel about some shit, but then be over it because you don't really take it personal because you know that's
those
your
are almost
friend.
needed.
Yeah. And I think a lot of these bands these days, like the reason why a lot of them don't last is once it gets to that point, they weren't aren't friends before, you know? So they're just a bunch of musicians that got together. And
well, even then, you're probably you're probably friends with those people because they can communicate with you in that way in the first place.
Serving
Exactly.
me at that moment,
That sort of separated, to use a terrible analogy, like the men from the boys or whatever.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
the musicians that I work with now, even if I just met them, I can say like, "Hey, let's try something different."
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
they're not going to be like, "No, dude, that's the riff, that's the lick."
That's cool, man.
They're going to be like, "Okay, let's try something different." It's a to borrow from acting and the spirit of jamming and things. It's a yes and situation where it's like, I like that, but let's also do this, and let's see what we think of this. And you know, when you can be in a room, whether you know them or not, if you can be in a room with people who aren't going to get their butt hurt because you don't need to fluff their ego, they know, you know, they're just confident people. Like,
Decent.
because I don't like that doesn't mean we're taking you down.
Yeah.
It's like,
Yeah.
I think this can be better, and everybody's always open to decent
Improve.
people are always open to like
Improve
all right,
upon
yeah,
it,
let's try to be
That's
better.
cool,
Yeah.
man. What's the future for Breathing Rhythm Studios, dude? Where do you see yourself in 5 years, and where do you see your studio in 5 years?
I think about selling it every day.
Really?
I really do.
I'm selling this. You guys got
See what I'm talking about? The laziness. You get older and you're like, man, I've been in music so long. Like I've played so many shows with good bands and that, or you know, you recorded with all these cool people and hung out with all these people, and after a certain point, man, I don't know, you just get where you're like, you feel like you're just kind of reliving it again over and over.
I mean,
you know?
there's it's sort of a cross between something like that and, you know,
So
I'm a
loving
goal driven person, but I'm also like really frighteningly realistic about a lot of situations.
I'm the same way.
I know that there's no goal that I'm going to set with the studio where it's going to be like, oh, okay, we're done. Like that's boom, we did it.
Yeah.
We're rich or famous or whatever the hell the goal is. We made a platinum album, whatever it is. There's no ceiling to that. So there's no stopping point. And
You never settle that you've gotten your masterpiece yet. You know, that's the way I think I've always been.
I mean,
like,
my dream as a kid was to make a record.
yeah.
I did that, you know. What's next? It's always what's next.
Yeah.
And so, you know, cross between that and living this whole idea behind like living in the moment, finding out what happiness is. I'm always torn between all my hobbies. This started out as a hobby that I could make money from.
Yeah.
I gave up buying car parts and shit to have a fast car because that used to be a hobby.
Yeah.
I knew that I would always have those goals. So I intentionally gave all that shit up to pursue this one goal of having a studio and making records.
Gotcha.
I'm doing that now. I'm making a living doing it. It's fucking great.
Yeah.
But just like every other job, like it takes a lot out of me.
Yeah.
It's time consuming. I enjoy every minute of it. I really, really do. I'm just realizing like this is really depressing.
This is not depressing.
But I
This is a
mean,
good
so
episode.
so this
Selling it tomorrow.
This is good shit, man.
a lot of
Yeah.
that stuff kind of it goes through my head every now and then of like, should I sell everything and just like try to be a drummer and go on tour? Should I?
But I think no matter what you did, I think it's normal for that thought to always be there. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I think it's like this. I always play life by ear sometimes, because if you sit there and try to plan it out, yeah, you might succeed in certain ways, but you might miss out on a lot of things along the way. You know what I'm saying?
And that's what it is for me now. Like there's a lot of stuff that I feel like I'm missing out. I've always felt like I'm not as good of a friend as I would want to be. I work nights and weekends. It's very fulfilling to me. It's not really fulfilling to my family. But on the other side of everything, most likely I'm going to be doing the same thing 5 years from now. And where I see it is kind of honing in more of a style.
Gotcha.
So having kind of a specific sound and a specific reason, like I want to make a record with Steve at this place.
Gotcha. Sort of like people used to say when you went to Norman, you wanted to record at Bell Labs. Is
Yeah,
that what you're
yeah.
kind of shooting for? Because
Well,
for a long time, that was when people talked about recording in Norman. That was like number one.
Yeah, yeah. We all looked at like Flaming Records or
Dude.
Flaming Lips Records, like, well, who recorded that?
Yeah,
Trent
yeah.
Bell. And
But I think you will get to that point, man. I think in a lot of people's minds you are at that point, and I just think that that's really badass. And dude, I honestly think as people, if that thought to just abandon everything because you sort of equate it to all the time that you've missed out doing other things, you know, family stuff,
Yeah.
friend stuff, other hobby stuff, you're always sort of wondering, you know, what what's my end game? Why am I up till 4?
Yeah.
I could be, watching fucking Game of Thrones with my wife.
Yeah.
I could be watching.
Wait, when is this going to be over? I got
No
HBO
shit.
Go.
I got Game of Thrones to watch.
We've
Walking Dead just came out. I got
Yeah.
Do you got any records coming out you want to promote, man? We got a lot of people that check this out. You got anything that's coming up you want to talk about?
Well, there's a record that just finished. We got it back from mastering the other day. It's called Young Readers, and it's this guy named Jordan Herrera that, as long as I've known him, maybe 3 years now, 2 years, he's been doing nothing but touring.
Really?
Like, he doesn't really live in a spot. He doesn't really have a lot of possessions. He just writes music, plays it, lives on the country, or lives around the country on the road. And his music is it's sort of the record that I've always wanted to make. So I'm really proud of it. Yeah,
that's awesome.
I got to produce that one. It's got this cool sound to it that
I can't wait to check it out, man. Will that be on their website, Breathing Rhythm Studio?
Yeah. As soon as I can get that updated.
Sweet. That's badass, dude. So Young Readers, that's gonna be coming out when?
I don't have a release date on me.
Just
but
soon.
Before winter, I think.
Sweet.
Yeah.
That's so cool, man. Simp, you got any shows coming up you want to talk about?
Not for a while. I guess we got. Well, it's not. I guess I can promote it early. We got one coming up in September. I think it's on the 21st or something like that. It's the night that they shut down the Plaza District. We were going to play Dave's Porch, so I don't know how to explain the address, but if I could probably post it up on the website.
Yeah, keep me posted on that, and I'll put it up on the website. And for anybody, I'll put all the stuff, all the info, all the links to breathingrhythmstudio.com and all the kick-ass shit that Steve does and he's involved with. But this has been the Mediot Hour Podcast with Joey,
Simp,
and Steve.
Peace.
All right, everyone. Thanks for listening or downloading however you got a hold of this podcast. You can follow us on Twitter @Mediot Hour, or just go to facebook.com/The Mediot Hour Podcast. And don't forget to check out breathingrhythmstudio.com, based out of Norman, Oklahoma. And keep your eyes and your ears peeled for Young Readers coming out soon. Peace. One love.